Howdy.
What's up, everybody? This is Matt DeMarinis from White and Blue Review, back with another Creighton commentary. I'm joined by former Creighton point guard Tyler McKinney and former Blue Jay big man Brody Deren. He's going to get a tip slam in 5-4, boom. And we're here to recall. Basically Creighton's 80-56 whooping over Southern Illinois, their old rival in the Valley, in the Arch Madness game, Arch Madness title game in 2003. It's kind of a funny game because I think, if I remember right, Tyler and Brody, you guys had squeaked by your first two rounds of the MVC tournament. One against a really bad team in Indiana State. I think they were like 7-24 that year, and they almost beat you. And then you play the SIU team that was super motivated to play you guys. So what was it like, first of all, just going into this game, knowing what you guys had gone through the first two rounds, and maybe how fortunate you might have felt to be in this game in the first place?
Yeah, I remember, I was telling you earlier, when we played Indiana State, I think I turned the ball over like at the end of the game, so they had a shot to beat us. So that really built a ton of confidence. And then we didn't play well against Wichita State. But Altman kind of had a weird way of never allowing you to think you were out or something. So I don't think we went in there unconfident or anything. I was still confident we'd win this game. It was just win in advance in the tournament. That's kind of what it was always like. Just make sure you get the W and move on to the next day. And we had won the tournament the year before as well. So I still think we were confident we were going to win this game.
I remember being nervous just because we had played so poorly the first two games, and but to Tyler's point, you know, this was the Dana Altman Invitational, right? And so we had won it, you know, the year before, and you know, we just felt like it was, I don't know, it was our tournament to win. So I felt like there was this offset of like confidence that we knew what we had to do, and we hated Southern Illinois, like we were going to come out and play, but at the same time I'm going to be nervous, like, man, we were terrible the first 2 years.
We were not good.
What was the game plan going in? Who were you guys basically?
That Wichita State team was like, well,
like who were the big
this
primary
team
focuses
was
of this group?
So
This
this
team
was a game where
was-
Kyle
yeah,
was like,
it-
I'm going to guard Dearman. If you remember that, Brody, he was like, I'm taking Dearman. And it was all about shutting down him and Kent Williams. Those were the two guys that you had to make sure you didn't let get going. Or Brad Korn, who became Creighton killer later on. They just missed a ton of shots. Like, I think our D was good, but they missed, if you watch this game, they missed a ton of shots that were makeable shots, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I don't know. We did hate these guys, and I think they were a little jacked up to play us, and we were excited to play them, but we were a little more, let's just get this done. Here's Joe's jump fist pump. That's on.
yeah. Well, and that, like, to your point, Tyler, like, you know, that was just this bucket that goes in. Joe banks in a 12-footer in the middle of the lane, like dead on, right? Like that. We had some shots fall. They had shots that just weren't falling, you know, and we just got. Yeah, and it was, you know, with Kyle guarding Jermaine, it allowed, you know, Grimes or Dabbert, myself to come over and help out at the top. And they had that big kid Josh Warren too in there that just missed a left-handed jump hook.
Yeah,
that disgusting bounce pass from Kyle right there. My God.
That's where this was like when everybody was jacked. We're like, all right, let's roll. So this is where the first time, like, all right, good start. They get the timeout. Kyle's jacked up, get it done. But then I'm telling you, like, it's a weird thing. Like, over the next 5, 6, 7 minutes, we build the lead, but it's never a run. Just put back. And I think part of it was I don't think we hit a single three during this.
No.
stretch.
I think Larry House hits a three late in this half. It's the first three that we hit.
Yeah. They were all over Kyle, and we had one-on-one in the post with everybody, with Brody, with Joe, with Grimes, even with Larry. And if you look, there's a lot of like post reposts that we do just because they really couldn't guard any of those guys in the post. So we just kept feeding it in there, and then it was a lot of transition buckets too, if I remember right.
With these guys, I mean, the thing that I remember about SIU all the time was, I mean, they just got in your shorts. You know, it was like at times we had a hard time entering the ball to the wing to even start the offense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird because it's always a I don't want to say it's an argument, but it was a fight between me as a point guard and the wings. I'm like, guys, you guys got to get open when I am coming towards you. And they're like, well, you got to get us the ball where I want it. So, because if you watch this game, there's a lot where like I will enter the ball. I'll like make the first pass to the offense, a dribble pass half court. And they just, and there's a pass that I throw to Brody where he gets an and one, where I throw it and I think it's Hairston is like full on guarding me behind the half court line on like inbounds pass where we're kind of breaking. And all over you. I hate playing them so much. It was literally like you're going to be dead tired because you had to have your knees bent the entire game, offense and defense. There was no break.
Their first game. Welcome to the game, SIU. Was it true? Did they really wear those T-shirts? What was it? What did they have on those T-shirts or whatever? We'll see who's cutting down nets on Monday or something like that. Was that a thing that got under your guys' skin at all?
I remember hearing about it. I think against Wichita. I think they wore them. Maybe they wore them all, but I remember hearing whatever against Wichita. That was definitely brought up.
Well, and you know, the thing that got us going, we didn't play very well. We played better in the second half against Wichita, but that was a team, you know, they kind of were coming on at that point. You know, Turgeon had that team rolling, and we didn't like those guys either. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we had Jamar Howard and Randy Burns and that crew. Like,
I was actually buddies with Rob Campman. He's from Iowa, so I knew him pretty well. We played AAU together, so I liked him. But I remember telling him, like, the rest of your team, I can't stand this guy.
Yeah, so I don't know. We had a little bit of that rivalry juice going into this game, and then we hated these guys. I mean, Kent Williams. I mean, gosh, that dude he was a really good player, and he just frustrating as hell. And then Brad Korn, 6'9", 180 pounds, soaking wet, come in and just drop bombs on us, you know, from the corner, and 6'9" Butch Burgers.
The funny thing is Kyle was actually better at guarding Dearman than he was Korn, because Kyle loves to help and kind of watch the ball and try to get steals and whatnot, and you really can't do that against Korn. I think Korn hits a couple buckets on him. Like, I don't think Dearman scored on Korver, and then Korn hits a couple buckets on Kyle.
Little Bat Blue ad there.
Right. Yeah, these commercials are going to be a trip.
No kidding.
We were going through them. We've done a couple of these that we've recorded so far. It's just like, sometimes you get caught up in analyzing commercials and how stupid they are without sound. These ones looking back 20 years ago are going to be wild.
I graduated from the Bat Blue about 20 years ago.
Here we are at the T. Scott Martrade Savage Center.
Man, I remember this was packed, this game. It was, and this is where we had so many fans here. I remember before this game started, I had a bunch of friends. I mean, we all did. Had a bunch of friends that were up there, and we had to be down because we do like the hotel walk where we meet up there. We kind of come down and like that. And I had, just a ton of buddies there, and we went. And I went into their room, and they're all just drinking all sorts of beer, like trying to figure out how to sneak more liquor in there. And they're all like, "Have a beer with us." I'm like, "I'm not ready to go have the biggest game of my career so far. I'm not. You want me to drink a beer?" I was like, "I don't think so." But everybody was just jacked up for this game.
Grimes in there doing grime stuff.
Mm-hmm. He was tough.
He was so good, dude. His hands were so good.
Yep. Well, that's the one thing that's crazy. If you think about like this team, when people think about it, it's usually thinking about Kyle and what he did. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you look at Brody, Joe, and Grimes, those are 3 guys that could play anyway, even now. Yeah. I mean, we were so talented down low and tough for people to match up. That's such a good play by Kyle there. That's so crazy. And you think about it, we lost Terrell off this.
I know. That was the one thing that was funny about this year was you had this historic season that was coming off of the momentum you guys had from the Florida win. And but you lost Taylor, and I think you lost Izzy.
Yeah, it is.
And so, like, there was some, in a lot of ways it might be comparable to what's going on with Creighton coming into next season with losing Tyshawn and everything. I think I've already made that point to some people. I know, because like you expect something to happen before the year, and I tell people like it rarely ever goes according to expectations, no matter what they are. Like last year, if you look at last year's Creighton team, they weren't even in the top 50 in the preseason, and they win the Big East.
Yeah.
And then, now your expectations have shifted, but you lose Tyshawn and you're like, what's going to happen? I think a lot of ways it was the same for this group because you guys had that momentum off the tournament win, and Kyle and everybody were coming back, Brody, you, Tyler. But there was some like, oh man, but you guys got off such a crazy good start in the non-con that I think all those.
We beat Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame had 3 teams that were in the top 10 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Notre Dame win was definitely one of them where I was like, oh, this is probably a special group regardless.
Yeah, that kind of got us rolling. We felt, I mean, there was points in this season where I felt like on a given night, we could beat anybody in the country.
Really?
Like I wanted a shot at, all the Blue Bloods. And frankly, when it came down to it, right, when we went and played Central Michigan and lose first round and had the opportunity at the Blue Devils, second round, had we win that game, I mean, I'll tell you, I think we were looking past the Chippewas a little bit because we wanted that opportunity.
The NCAA tournament NCAA selection committee has a way of sticking mid-majors against mid-majors in the first round, so they don't have to knock off their money makers right away.
Yeah.
And House was playing so well at that time, too.
Dude, House was killing. Like, he was kind of our go-to guy in Wichita because he played really well senior night, if you remember right.
Yeah, he had like 26 at senior night against them at home.
Yeah, and then he had a good tournament. And he was definitely looking for a shot now more than he ever was in the 2 years.
Ooh, it's a dirty fadeaway by Nate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was just a preview.
Yeah.
Right.
That. For the next few years.
It's crazy to watch as a freshman because he would do stuff where you're like, what are you even doing trying to do that? And then he would make it look so good. And then you're like, what in the world?
His mid-range game was so smooth. I remember that.
So good. He got such good elevation on that jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he put on 25 pounds of muscle between this year and his junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. I remember him coming in on a recruiting visit, and I was like, Coach, like, this kid's going to break in half. I don't know. Can he really play here?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about the career he had compared to I just don't know how many people would have the freshman year that he had and stick around, especially now. You feel like you're not being utilized as much as maybe you were in the recruiting process, and then for him to turn into a 1,500-point scorer in his career at Creighton after kind of being a role player as a freshman is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he was such a sponge.
Even I don't think we've ever discussed it, but
no, we haven't really talked about it. The crazy thing to me was, so Terrell was abundantly talented and obviously won that Florida game for us, but you know, we from a cultural perspective, it was really difficult with Terrell because he was just the outlier. You know, it was like everybody was bought in, everybody did what they needed to do. You know, going to class, going to study hall, taking care of their business, everything, minus Terrell. You know, and so I remember telling people, you know, obviously he wins that Florida game. And if you could have ever got Terrell to buy in, like he was so talented. I mean, it was incredible. But the decision that Terrell wasn't going to come back, I was and you know, a lot of fans were like, "Oh man, we're going to miss him." So I was like, "Guys, this is going to be an addition, but it's subtraction." And you know, you hate to say it because he's such a good player, and you know, to make it.
Well,
I think
that goes to the point of like I think people underrate how powerful chemistry is for a basketball team when you've got a group of guys that have been together and they're all on the same page. What it can do.
Yeah, I remember my freshman year, so the year before this. Coach Allman like pulls me aside, and it was right after the UNI game. If you remember at UNI, Brody, where we had to bail Terrell out of jail the night before, like people were going around trying to get money to bail out. And I think D-Rock had to drive him up, like not even on the team bus. And it was like, and then you remember D'Anthony and Terrell's fight back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what is going on here? And Altman just sitting down, like, you probably don't understand what's going on right now, do you? And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever been part of, man. I don't know. So, and then who was it that someone got arrested in practice once?
In practice?
Yeah, who was that, Brody? You remember that?
How is that consolidation going?
What's
Was
his
that
name?
Austin Collier?
Austin. Police come up during practice and put him in cuffs.
Austin Collier.
You know, we're still running a proprietary.
I remember talking to Moats because he was my roommate. We're both freshmen, and we're like, this is crazy. This didn't happen back in high school.
Is this what D1 basketball is like?
The kid from Lincoln and the kid from Urbandale, and trust me, the kid from Harlan, Iowa, was not used to this stuff.
Hey, you at least were Northwestern. You got a crazy coach for a while, so you at least seen.
Oh well, I had a crazy coach, but not, you know, we didn't have this going on. And keep in mind, that year that Terrell got kicked off the team, I was his roommate. So after that first year that you were there, yeah, Tyler's sophomore year, I was Terrell's roommate, and Coach and Greg Renzing, Coach Allman and Greg Renzing approached me and like, hey, we think you might be able to help influence, you know, Terrell, like straighten him out. And I helped him none. I think what I learned after the fact was that Terrell got arrested like 5 times.
Really?
Where were you guys living at, Brody?
We were in Kennebec.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, there was the face of Bruce Weber most of this game.
Yeah, the mouth agape, like trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, what to do here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is that double pin down for Kyle. But look at that. I mean, they guarded that so well.
Yeah.
This
and here,
Just
this bonus
Just jogging. This was the year Kyle had to wear. Remember, he had to wear gloves with lotion in them because his hands got so dry.
Yeah.
There's a random fact for you. He would have to like just walk around with lotion and gloves because his hands were so dry.
That's bizarre.
He was probably shooting too much.
Yeah, right.
After practice, not in the games. After practice.
Mm-hmm. I remember it was crazy to watch him like in warm-ups. He never missed. It was crazy. He had such a crazy routine. He would shoot mid-range jumpers, threes, and like if he missed, it was like a surprise.
Yeah.
That was a surprise in a game when he missed.
Right. But yeah, to your point about SIU, I think like the 3 he hit that set the MVC record or whatever in Omaha, I'm pretty sure you guys had to set like a triple ball screen to get him open.
The plays that we would draw up were just insane because people would double him. Because remember they started putting guards on him because he never really moved up a whole ton. So they started putting. So there's House going off again. He was tough.
That high post triple, that high post back to the basket dribble handoff by Brody was like his signature move. Basically.
See, this is the timeout I'm talking about. Like, it doesn't feel like we're going crazy. We're just kind of just hitting a few shots. Larry hit that kind of scramble shot. Then he comes in here, hits a bucket. And I remember this timeout being like, why are they calling timeout? And I look up, oh, we're up 22-4.
Yeah, this stuff right here, Brody, you did this like 100 times a game.
Well, I got about 85% of my assists in my entire career were butt pick handoffs to Kyle.
Oh, man. I just remember the arguments we'd always have was like the big guys would always complain because we would not get free coming off the screen, and the guards would be like, man, just give me the ball coming off the screen. We'd have to be running in circles and circles.
That's too funny.
It's so funny, too, just watching, like, we ran this offense so structured and like to a T, and then you watch Coach Altman run this out in Oregon with guys with a little bit more margin for error and athleticism, and they'll run it through for about a half a possession and then just go get a bucket.
Yeah. Right. Well, even you watch us, like Larry would like sometimes just randomly post up or would drive, and it'd almost be like, "What are you doing, man? That's not part of the offense." And then he would,
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard is definitely an innovator when it comes to Auburn's offense. He's like, I'm just going to stick a 35-footer real quick because we're not getting much movement out of it.
How different is the game? Because I remember Kyle would shoot, a couple shots from the NBA three-point line, and even Altman would be kind of like, hey, we don't need to be shooting out there. And now it's like if you're shooting at the three-point line, people are like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It just was you didn't do that back then.
No, Mac has told us multiple times he wants Mitch shooting from 30 feet. He wants him out there. The spaces the floor for one, and he can hit it for the two. Like.
Well, can you imagine? I mean, obviously the game's changed, and the timing for Kyle entering the league was so great. But like, you imagine having Kyle at his peak playing for this Mac team, like. It'd be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, even Brody, think about how they played with, especially like Martine and Patton, being able to like nobody did that back then. Like
just run at the rim. Yeah.
Like you and Joe, that'd have been crazy. Just throw them up in the air. Especially if you look at the big guys that you guys went up against, like you were just physically superior at all.
I don't know though, like watching Christian Bishop play that role at 6'7", like that's super impressive. Like that he is an athlete.
Yeah, that was a huge block. So there's a few plays I remember from this game, and that was one of them because Kyle was like,
Kyle smiled at.
I can chill.
Yeah, Kyle he was talking a little shit there.
Yeah. I remember that play. Yeah. I remember Kyle's pass. I remember throwing it to Brody. You get the and one, it's coming up, and you like are on the ground, both hands up.
And then the dunk, house dunk.
Yeah.
Throwing the house.
Oh yeah.
I love going through the house.
But see, like right there, like I'm entering the ball into the offense like behind half court because they just pushed up so much.
Ooh.
They could D up. Do you remember? I remember D-Rock talking us about how they play defense in practice, where they have to hold a towel behind their back so they couldn't reach, but they had to move their feet and they could body up. And like they tried to make us do that for like one day of practice. And we're like, we can't do that. Want to be spacing a little bit better. That's good D right there, Tyler.
Like their athleticism was really significant. I mean, the reality is that
the transition.
Yeah. We got one or two of those a game, or I'd throw it up to Brody or Grimes or Dabber because again, they were so much better athletes than the big guys we played against that they would outrun them, and you just could throw it up and one or two a game, easy.
Like the athletes on this SIU squad, like if they were 2 inches bigger, they would have been playing anywhere in the country. But they were all 6'2", 6'3", you know what I mean? But they were athletic.
They'd be all up in my grill the whole time. I'm like, goodness sakes, man. Like Hairston was he was the guy that he guarded me like 4 years in a row. And it's like, dude, can you graduate?
And Stetson Hairston. Yeah, he was good, man. Him, Deren Brooks, that Willis kid. Yeah.
That's what I remember is like Stetson Harrison would just pressure me constantly, and then like he would go, and that especially my senior year, I was playing like 35 minutes a game, and he'd go out and they'd bring like Brooks in on me. I'm like, oh man, help me, somebody.
I think Brooks won the Player of the Year one year, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he won Defensive Player of the Year twice.
Really?
And Player of the Year. Yeah.
Jesus, stuff.
We talked about the Anthony either. Like he added a huge element to the defensive at like 6'1" and wrecked havoc.
He was athletic.
Yeah.
Remember, he would like get low and run, and to try and like he would kind of like be creeping, running, and like you're still faster than him when you're just messing around. Like, hey, Brody, do you remember? I think it was either before it was in this tournament. House and DeAnthony raced in behind.
It was in the hallway, and House
in the tunnel,
beat him.
Yeah.
You remember House beat him?
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. Like that was a demonstration of like when House wanted to. Like there wasn't anybody more athletic than that on our squad.
Yeah. Well, I remember him coming in last year when he got recruited, and they're like, yeah, he was on like the cover of Slam or something, or maybe he wasn't the cover, but he was in like in Slam magazine.
Yeah, I remember D-Rock saying when he was coming on his visit, we were going to play, pick up. He's like, you're not going to want to jump with him. He's going to put you on a post.
He could jump.
Do you remember that dunk he would do in practice where he would stand on the baseline and throw it off the back of the backboard, catch it, duck his head under the backboard, and then reverse it on the other side?
Yeah, and then somebody did it in the NBA dunk contest like 2 years after he was doing it.
Yep.
I think it was it Iguodala? Or?
Yeah, I think
Iggy
did it. Iggy and Iverson did that.
Man.
Do you remember that practice, speaking of Terrell, do you remember that practice where we had to run like 8-10s in practice because of the deficit in rebounding the last 3 games of the season? And so, Matt, we used to run these, Coach Altman called them 10s, and it was just 10 lengths of the court in 60 seconds or less. And the last 3 games of the season, I don't think it was this year, I think it was the year before. We were struggling, like, rebounding the ball, and so Coach made us run a 10 for every, like, the cumulative rebounding deficit over those 3 games. We had to run a 10 for at the end of practice, and it was 8, and running like 3 10s back to back would like make you puke, and like we had to run 8. And so he actually spread it out over the course of practice, and then we had to run 4 consecutive ones at the end of practice. Well, I'm like duffnering. I puked, whatever. I'm just feeling terrible. Then meanwhile, Terrell, like we're all like everybody on the squad is just done. Terrell's out just messing around on the court, like drop step windmill dunking. After that, like he could go do that after getting wiped.
I remember it was my freshman year coming in, and he's guarding me, and it's like, and I'm just dribbling it down. It was like the first time playing pickup with him, and he's like down in his stance, and he was like wanting, I don't know what to do. And I just tried to pass it to like kind of like the high post area, and he like just jumped out and grabbed it, and I'm like, I've never seen anybody do that before. That's when I was like, all right. See, here's the pass to Brody. Look where he's guarding me. This is on me. But he's pressuring me out to there, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's a ridiculous window you fit that through, though.
That was a great pass.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, to even get that thing off.
That's
Brody, what
Brody
was Tyler like to play with as a floor general? Because I remember, I think it was the next season after this one where Tyler had the eye issue, but you guys started 8-0, got ranked or whatever, and then he missed the rest of the year or whatever.
Tyler was severely underappreciated on this squad because people, Tyler didn't have to score a bunch of buckets, but if you look back over Tyler's course of his career, I mean, he made huge plays at huge points in game. Oh, by the way, sweet screen there for Kyle.
That's not even the one where he sticks the dude either. That's later.
Yeah.
But then I think people kind of probably got a little bit of a better appreciation of Tyler's, significance the following year. Because, with Tyler McKinney on that squad, the year after this, we were 12-0. Without Tyler McKinney, we were 8-9.
Mm.
So, you got a pretty good idea of what he meant to us. I mean, Tyler just knew, he was very, very heady. He knew where to put the ball when, and, when to get certain guys the rock. It was time to, and did it well from what Coach Altman was asking. So, in terms of the confines of the offense. So.
What I'll tell you what really for me, looking back, obviously what hurts the most, losing to Central Michigan sucked, losing to West Virginia for me sucked, but man, I thought my junior year, Brody's senior year, nobody expected anything out of us, but the way Funk developed and then we were so good inside, I thought we could have had almost a better year and really competed with people in the tournament that year. Size-wise, we just were big. Funk, we still had Lindy, so Funk was kind of taking over a little bit more of a scoring role. I remember working so hard after after we lose to Central Michigan, Funk and I are actually sitting in the locker room in the shower. And everybody was devastated after losing to Central Michigan. And we're like, man, we got to be better. And we both worked real hard. And if you remember, Brody, we go to Canada and we did pretty well for a while there. And everything was on the right path. And I actually hurt my shoulder on that trip and didn't play in 2 games. But we were experienced everywhere. So I was going to be a 3-year starter. Funk was playing quite a bit, and he was going to play well. Brody was a 3-year starter. Lindy was a 4-year starter, I think. We had Grimes. Moats was going to be able to play. We were stacked. We were looking pretty good, and then it just and Mathis came in, and that's kind of, I think Johnny was a great 2, but he wasn't probably ready to play the 1 at the D1 level because he was phenomenal at creating space and making plays, but when you get pressured 40 minutes a game, it's hard to try to create at the same time. That's why what Marcus does right now is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Good charge here by Joe. And by the way, make Brad Korn put the ball on the floor. That's exactly what we want to do. Kyle ran him up the 3-point line.
Yep, that's what happens. But no, that junior year, oh man, that's I wish we could have seen what would happen that year.
When did the eye thing creep up on you? Was it?
It was from
what game it was?
Watch it started from the beginning because I got it in Canada, so but it wasn't bad. I was fine, but I sort of remember because I was going to the cornea specialist every day, and they told me you're not going to. So we were on the Illinois State Bradley trip. It was January 3rd and 5th, I think.
Yep.
And it was you're not going. My cornea specialist said you're not going. And I go and tell Coach Altman and Grenzing, they're like, you're going. I'm like, all right, I'm going. And so I go, and the reason she wanted me to go is because I was going to them every day, and I was doing 100 eye drops a day even then, not sleeping. And I woke up for the first game. I think it was Bradley, and couldn't see out of my right eye. And so I went to the emergency room, and they had no idea what the hell was going on. And they're like, you're playing. And I couldn't see. And we played on ESPN that game. And I dribbled out of bounds twice. I just remember Grenzing being like, Tyler, they're not guarding you. You just have to shoot. I'm like, can you imagine trying to shoot with one eye? I think I made 2 threes, and I'm like, I have no idea where those things are going. And then after that, they shipped me off to the University of Iowa, and I was hospitalized.
Crazy.
And then we came back actually to Southern Illinois that on ESPN2, like towards the end of the game or end of the year. And Grunzy was like, "Can you play?" And I'm like, "I have a cornea transplant in like a week." I'm like, "No, I can't play." I remember Brody getting mad at Coach Altman, I think.
It was crazy. I mean, because Tyler and Jimmy lived right across the hall from me and Mike Lindemann that year. And, like, Tyler basically had to just camp out in his room, lights off, like, just there was, like, empty pizza boxes all over the place. Like, he couldn't go anywhere because, like, he was in so much pain. And, like, he just had to, like, live in a basement, basically, for, you know, the whole second semester.
He was just preparing me for this. Now we're all living in our basements. Yeah, here's Kyle just doing all sorts of crazy stuff. One of the things, you pick a game where Kyle didn't go off. He felt like he went off like every game.
He almost had a triple-double in this one, I think. He had 3 points, rebounds for sure. I think he had it like 6 times, too.
He was one of those players that, I mean, he could score 28 or he could score.
Weber's fed up right there.
There's the face.
He's not even talking. He's just looking at everybody like, you are all embarrassing me. He's not even saying anything. He's just like.
How about Lowry right there in the background?
Yep. I think Lowry's on his staff now at K-State, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Is Brad Korn there on his staff too?
Yeah, I think so. He was, if he's not any longer. But
was Painter on this group this year, or was that later? That might have been later.
He would have been. He would have been because he was just one and done, right?
Yeah. As the head coach, he was one and done for sure.
Wasn't he just 1 year as the head coach? Yeah, because I think this was Weber's last year as the head coach. I think Creighton was the following year, and then Lowry the year after that.
Right. He actually went to Purdue to be the associate head coach, like in waiting for Katie. So he left SIU to be like the coach in waiting, like Jimbo Fisher type of deal.
It allows great running lanes to the rim to get offensive rebounds, and they lock in and play such fundamentally.
How many fans were here for you guys? Was it? Really?
Yeah.
This was one of those.
I just remember freshman year playing at the at the Civic, my first couple games, there was like nobody there, and it was like by the end of that year we had a ton of people there. And then this year, every game we went to was just packed.
Mm-hmm. This was the last year of the Civic. You guys were in the Quest after this, I think.
Yeah.
I remember, this last year at the Civic, we sold 6,200 season tickets and thought that was the most amazing thing ever. And now they sell these are like 14,000 to 15,000 season tickets every year.
They have to move the D2 if they sold 62,000 tickets.
Jermaine, that's a great move.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play. Big game's Deren.
Except for this one.
Yeah.
They're still moving so well, though. I mean, nobody is standing. It's a pass and a cut.
Well, we were so, like, when you have our star as Corvo, who didn't, I mean, he wanted to shoot and score, and he would, but he wasn't selfish. So it was kind of what Brody said. We didn't have a lot of playmakers off the dribble, so we ran that offense, and it was all predicated on spacing and passing and being unselfish. It's similar to what McDermott does, just with a different level.
They're rotating in so many bodies. Robert's just looking for answers anywhere you can get them.
Yeah, he was trying to get anything he could. Just somebody that had a shot, like to Tyler's point, you really watch this, particularly for the first 12 or, well, pretty much the whole half, but the 12 or 16 minutes of the first half, like, there was a bunch of makeable shots that they just missed.
Yeah. Were they talkers much when they were playing well? Did they let you guys know, or were they just in your face constantly, just being nice?
I know, like Stetson didn't a lot. Like him and I actually had a pretty respectful relationship because we played each other for over 4 years. But they didn't really talk a lot. But I think Kent Williams would like to run his mouth a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, D'Anthony got into it with him a little bit verbally. Yeah. Jermaine didn't. Jermaine was actually a pretty nice guy. Didn't mean I still didn't hate playing those guys.
Yeah.
But.
I don't know about Brody, but to me, I hated playing Southern Illinois, and I hated the idea of them. But like the players were fine. Wichita, I hated the players.
I'm with you, and part of the thing that made SIU worse to me was their fans, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember the end zone chants? Yep. The pregame end zone chants? Yeah.
That was the first game I ever played in where I went out, well, besides Nebraska, but we went out and their fans during not just like warm-ups, I mean like shoot around. We're not shoot around, but you'd go out an hour and a half before the game, just kind of get shots out. And they were there just screaming their heads at us. I mean, vulgar stuff, and I was like, oh my Lord, these people are crazy. And they hated us so much.
Yeah, obscenities. Do you remember the story about so Kevin Korver is in Carbondale, and for one of our games, I don't remember if it was junior or senior, Kyle's junior or senior year, but some SIU student is like in Kevin Korver's face and like yelling obscenities at him, and Kevin just says, "Son, I will pray for you."
I'm a regular guy, but sometimes I can be such a dunce. Like when I go on vacation.
Brody, I remember.
If I'm paying too much for the rental.
Who did you shove on senior day for when you guys played Wichita? Was it Randy Burns or was it Jamar?
I couldn't contain my
No.
saving money was so quick and easy. Wow, my dollar rental car.
That was Jamar Howard.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I actually shoved him, but like we both dove on the floor for a ball curricular activity, and I came up and like actually have like. I don't know. I had cocked my fist back as if I was going to take a shot, but then then my senses got the better of me.
I don't think anybody in the crowd would have minded though. I think everybody hated Jamar Howard.
Jimmy Dykes just came out of a Bruce Weber huddle. Jimmy, what's going on over there? I tell you what,
and the funny thing is, like, I didn't mind Randy Burns. Like looking back, it was Howard. And then who was their like tubby little point guard too that they had?
Oh, Fridge Holman.
Yes, couldn't stand him either.
He ran his mouth. He was from like Harlem or something, and I can just remember him just running his mouth like crazy. And then Jamar was. He ran his mouth. Plus, he was cheap. He threw elbows. He was don't get me wrong. He was a great athlete. He defended well, but he was also cheap.
That's a terrible call, right there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That was a bad call.
And that's an offensive foul as Nate Funk got an elbow into the face of Kent Williams.
Brody, why'd you wear a wristband back in the day?
You will practice in the morning.
That's a great question. I have no idea. Because Ben Walker wore one, so I was like, I'm going to throw one. Yeah. I don't know if I had any real purpose to it, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
I mean, maybe my justification was it was on my right hand shooting hand. It keeps sweat off on a shooting hand, but it wasn't like I was shooting a lot of jump shots. So
is that the three we hit?
Ooh, yeah.
It looks cool at least though. In the pre arm sleeve days.
Well, you got to understand, we probably had 2 Arby sandwiches about an hour and a half before this game, so we're all just.
Oh, here comes the dunk.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's a great play.
House probably has what, 15 this half, or at least double figures.
There's another timeout. Bruce is just gonna burn them all.
Right here, get it.
Like, what's he even doing? Trying to go? Like, he's right there. What are you doing? Where are you going? Simple plays, Brody. Simple plays.
Bend your knees, Tyler.
We're not asking Jermaine to make that play right there.
I mean, we're not asking Lindemann to 360 dunk.
How sneaky good we haven't talked about. Lindy was so sneaky good too, and
was.
Nobody. I think he led the nation in 3-point percentage for part of this year, like 48% or something.
He just needed a half hour to get it off, but
right.
but we could create so much space with this team that you could get those shots, you know.
He'd get you 2 offensive rebounds a game. He was so good around the basket, like reverse layups. Like, I think he was the pro at the mic and drill.
Totally. You're exactly right. And would work that baseline really well and get you a couple of those garbage buckets too. Yeah.
Brooks just manhandled me there. Holy smokes. I was a little outweighted there. Throwing the ball. How mad did you get when you didn't get the ball when you had somebody like that?
Always.
Yeah.
I get mad. I get mad today, even though this Creighton team doesn't have much of a typical post up back to the basket scenario. But once in a while, Christian would have somebody on their back, and I get so mad when he didn't get the eye.
And then Kyle takes that contested fadeaway air ball. Maybe when I got a guy on my hip, you throw me the ball. That'd be good.
Well, you're running the floor pretty well tonight. I don't think they're getting anything in transition.
At 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN tomorrow. That's something you can do 24 hours a day. Get up to date on who's in the dance.
You can move for a dude who was like a muscle-bound big.
Damn.
My partner would say, who's at the gate trying to get on that plane?
On standby.
Look at that
This is
guy.
going to be a good career for the mid-majors. Clubs like College of Charleston, Central Michigan, Butler, Weber State out in the Big Sky, Western Kentucky. I think the CSI, I think the Common Sense Index.
One of these, I don't remember the second half of this
Keep
game.
up with
Less
Grimes
RPI,
and
more
Joe.
CSI.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. 16 points.
Of a first half shocker in St. Louis.
What are we running here? Oh, a little middle. That was a little middle right there.
Lindemann.
Oh, they've done anything they want to do, haven't they, in this
Middle.
Random calls.
It was.
They want to shoot him. They've stripped him defensively. Rebounds. They've played with the energy that Dana Altman's club had early in this season.
With that one.
Joe Dapper checks out, or rather in. Kyle Korver will sit down. As Dana Altman gets some size out there on
Were we up
defense.
26 at half?
Yep.
Less
Oh,
than
man.
4 seconds to go.
Second half's a lot more competitive, even though it's over with.
Look at this. Weber takes a
They just burn a
timeout.
timeout right there to. Hey, if we can cut, like, what in the world?
That's his last one. He's going into the break with none left.
No.
That's insane.
What in the world? Hey, don't worry. Illinois is going to offer him a big contract.
With Bill Self's recruits.
Yeah.
You and I have been doing a lot of games. I don't know if
Oh
I've
my
ever seen
goodness.
out of
That's
the
Jansen.
terrible
before
right there.
halftime.
I didn't know they're going to throw it to half court to burn their last time out of the game. That's fantastic.
Just wants to draw something up that goes in.
Yeah, we got to make
If we
sure
can get
we
a
cut
bucket
this.
here, we'll have some momentum going into the locker.
Yeah.
We'll have them right where we want them.
As Jimmy said, though, San Diego on
This is where you're going to go into
they've got other ideas.
halftime, and Altman's going to tell you that you missed a rebound. Playing okay. Game's not over.
This is roughly our deficit against Central Michigan.
I was just thinking that. Wasn't it 26 at half, or was that the?
It was
the
right.
biggest-
It was right after half. I think I want to say we were down roughly 20 at half, and then I think there was like 18 minutes to go. We took another timeout, and we were down 26 in that game.
The funniest thing about that game at halftime was Altman came in with ballistic, chucking stuff, breaking stuff. And then he was thirsty, and he kept going to that water fountain to try to get a drink that was like censored. And he would like go down to get a drink,
right.
and it wouldn't go off. And he would like stand up to walk away, and then it would go. And he'd go back down to get it, and it would turn off like 3 times. And I'm sitting there in the back, just like trying not to. I mean, we're getting smoked in the NCAA tournament, but I was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I was trying to hide it.
7 up.
That's really funny.
That Digger?
So what's going through your guys' minds right now? You're up like 26 on a team that you probably felt like it was going to be a dogfight going into this one, and you're whooping their butts. Like, what's the locker room like? What's the locker room like from a player standpoint at halftime?
You know what? The other thing that was funny about this game, and I'll tell you at half too, was we ran what we called green, but that 1-2-1-1 trapping full court press most of the year, most of the time. And this particular game, we didn't. We dropped back into half court man. We didn't press at all.
Yeah.
And here we are up by 26 and a half, and we're kind of going like, well, shit, should we have been pressing this the whole time? Maybe this would have been a better idea.
I remember thinking and talking to people about that during the whole year. Like, the farther into the year we went, it's like it seemed like we pressed less and less. And it was like, you have our best player, Kyle, usually at the top of the press. How much energy is he expending? Because he played all out all the time. He never took time off.
Mm.
And we were pretty good defensively. We weren't overly athletic, but we played angles well. We helped well. We had Brody and Joe in the back that could block a lot of shots. Like, it was, I remember talking about that. Like, we press. I mean, at least why not go to our blue press, right? Where it was more 1-2-2 control tempo and I don't know. It was, and maybe use the green a little bit situationally. Yeah.
But I mean, to answer your question, Matt, I mean, I don't recall any specifics from that other than feeling a sense of like, all right, let's go stick the dagger in these dudes. This is awesome. Obviously feeling good about ourselves after playing like crap the first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's stomp their throats.
Yeah. It's about right. But Altman always had a way of making you nervous that you were still going to lose the game.
That's what I wonder what his strategy for halftime was for this one. Like, this is... People don't do this to SIU, so I can't imagine there's much to critique.
Up 10, down 10.
Yep.
I think he even said this: up 10, down 10, up 20, down 20, up 26, down 26. I got the head. That's for Central Michigan. It's like, all right.
We'll take Chris's buddy.
What was D-Rock like on this staff? Was he intense yet? Did he have his voice yet?
Mm-hmm. A little. He was more one-off. Like, he wouldn't. He was like a little rah-rah.
Mm.
I remember coming on my when I first came. He just wanted to play one-on-one all the time. Like, all right. But this was Altman and Grenzing. Like, Grenzing would just, like, if we had the volume up on this game, he would just yell. You would just hear his voice constantly. Like, every time I would get switched on, Kent Williams, it was like, Tyler! And he didn't have to say anything. He just yelled at you and you knew what he meant. But yeah, those are the two overwhelming voices that ring in my head.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, to Tyler's point, D-Rock would have, a scout here and there where he'd be sort of the point man for that game. But for the most part, yeah, it was Craig and Dana.
Yeah. D-Rock turned into quite the scouter, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could scout games as well as anybody.
Yeah. And get guys. Like he's a good coach, man. And by the way, his kid can play.
Oh, Tucker's gonna be a baller.
Really?
Dude,
yes.
He's I think he's often considered the best shooter in the country in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember when he was like just a wee little thing.
Well, I remember the practice when he was born,
Yeah.
like when they announced that Tucker was born.
Really?
That'll make it old, doesn't it?
Yeah, no doubt.
No, he's for sure. I mean, I wonder how much of a priority he is, because I think from what I've heard, like Creighton is his dream school, growing up with you guys and everything. As much as he wants to play for his dad, I think if Creighton thinks highly enough of him, I think he'll.
The thing about him going to play for his dad, though, is will his dad be there for 4 or 5 months?
Right.
Well, there's the reality of like, the family tie and maybe being able to elevate your dad's career. Like, go to Drake, be the man, and maybe go win some games, bring some other kids in that can help you and maybe get your daddy a better job, So, I don't know. I mean, he's got interest from other schools, but I think a lot of folks are like, basically understand it's either going to be Creighton or Drake.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be tough to, I don't know. Going to Drake would be tough if you're that good, though. Because didn't he just, D-Rock lose his best player? He transferred out?
Yeah, Liam Robbins to Minnesota.
Yeah. Like
there was a family tie there, though. I think his uncle or something coaches at Minnesota.
Yeah, point being though, it's if you're a mid-major now, like it's so hard to be good consistently. You recruit well and you find a diamond in the rough. Well, they're gone now. Good luck.
Well, I mean when even if you're a mid-major, if you have an awesome year at the D1 level, you're a more highly touted recruit than a 5-star coming out of high school, because you've proven you can do it at this level.
Yeah.
So that's that you become more a commodity for coaches at the high major level than some of the high school recruits.
Yeah, and that one-time transfer rule that may change here soon. I mean, that'll just accelerate that more.
Yep. Which I think is totally. I think it's totally fine. I think we're way past time for the players to have more of the pie than they're getting right now. I mean, even for you guys, like, I don't know what you guys think, but it's all relative to the following of your school. You know what I'm saying? So if you're playing at Creighton, you're the big dog on campus. If you're a men's basketball player, like even if you're not like an All-American and or an NBA draft pick or whatever, you still have a chance to make some money off your name because of the following that, just from Creighton's perspective, just the following that a men's basketball player has. And this, I mean, you talk about this year where you guys won almost 30 games, you guys could have made bank.
Well, I remember the big Brody. Did you ever do the College World Series? Did you ever do that?
No, I mean, Moats did it for like 10 years.
So I didn't him.
Well, yeah. I know, but he did it for like after graduation.
Yeah, he got like. So I just remember them saying this is a huge deal. Like, you're going to make good money, and it was for college, but you got $100 a day, which was okay, whatever. And you're thinking you're just going to go watch baseball. I mean, you had to be there at like 6:30 in the morning, and you were there till like 7:30 at night. Like, I'm like, is this that good? But I mean, you go have lunch with Aaron Andrews and we go out with like Sean McDonough and he buys some beers. So I mean, Harold Baines and all that. That was fun.
Yeah, I never did it, but I know you guys enjoyed that time.
Yeah, Mike Patrick would just sit there and smoke cigarettes constantly. Sean McDonough and Moats actually became pretty good friends. And
Really?
yeah. That's the first time I actually met Nick Baugh was after I think he was working a College World Series. Was it after my senior year or was it the year after? I can't remember when he came in and met him. And I think that's kind of what helped him get into broadcasting too, because I think he met a lot of those guys and picked their brain. Yeah, I don't think we were as big back then as the guys are now.
No. Yeah, that's for sure. But I mean,
not even close.
I mean, you think about what Corver could have made if he, did a few like I don't know.
This year that we're playing, I just remember the year before he was social. He was way more social. Like would go out and do stuff. We'd hang out, whatever. And this year, like I wasn't as close as Kyle, probably Brody and Lenny and all those guys were, but he kind of was. So much was asked of him, interviews, all this, that he never wanted to do anything. The only place he'd ever want to go is that there was like a local like tavern, and then there was like the bowling alley. That's the only time I think I ever saw him outside of. He didn't do much.
Yeah, we hung out at Duggar's.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
42nd and Cumming Street, give or take. 42nd Street, I think, was the cross street, and local dive bar. But they had a great jukebox. They had a great shuffleboard table.
Yep.
Beers were like 75 cents. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hit up
on 72nd, right?
Did you guys ever hit up the J for the $1? What were they after? They were like $1 kegs after games, right? For like the first hour or whatever, or first 2 hours. Yeah, I lied.
There was it the Bear Trap back in the day that was downtown, and it was I can't remember what night it was, but it was like $5 cover maybe, and then like penny pitchers. Remember doing this? Yeah. I remember doing that a few times.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I never made it for overtime at the J though, man. I remember Moats hustling out of the locker room a couple times to make sure he made it to overtime. But.
Oh man,
those were
the stories of Moats I could tell. He was the fun person of all time. He loved college, being a college athlete more than anybody ever.
Really?
Yes. Like every aspect of it. I mean, and his parents and family did as well. Like my senior year when we won the tournament, I mean, and Moats had a great tournament. Like his parents had like matching like sweatsuit or the windbreaker suits, whatever they were, and they would sit down in the lobby and just wait for somebody to come and talk to him. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Dude, I think I got Jimmy's autograph 25 times. I'm not even kidding. Because you would go down like before the games or whatever, and just try to find someone coming out of the tunnel, and then you'd run back up and show your parents like, I got blah blah blah. And for some reason that like it was like the first couple years of his career, he was just always there when I was waiting by the tunnel, and he would come out and just sign that little placard that they would give us.
Yeah.
I swear I have like 25 Jimmy Moats autographs. He signed it all the time.
He loved being a college athlete more than anybody, man.
Well, because he's such a basketball junkie. Obviously, he's a coach now, but
right?
just yeah, he did. Yeah, that's right at Norris down in Lincoln. But and he was such a sports nut. Like Jimmy was. He was as much of a fan as he was of a player, almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember we would sit there with him, and for fun, we would Google. Well, I don't know if we Google back then or whatever it was, but we would look up any Nebraska high school school or team, and he could name the mascot for anybody in the state. The most random, and he'd be like, "Yep, that's the Mohawks," and you're just like, "How in the world did you know this?"
And now he's coached for like half of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
For real.
So I had a buddy of mine, Kestel. He sent me. So he won state at Sterling his first year coaching, his first or second year coaching there, and we all went down there, and they're the Jets. And so everybody knows like the New York Jets, Jets, Jets. And we went down there and we went to like a handful of games to watch them play at home. And we would just go down there and we would sit right behind the bench and we would just do that chant. And it became like the school chant. So then like when he won state, he did his Jim Valvano. Have you seen the video of this? When he won state? Oh, it's hysterical. He won state and he on a last second shot.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, yes, when he's running around crazy.
Yes,
yeah.
He runs around and the whole crowd's chanting Jets, Jets. We're in the stands and it's just hysterical. I'm like, oh my goodness. He lived in his AD's basement.
He really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
He's committed to the craft.
He really is.
But yeah, I mean, that family, obviously Jerry Moats was a hell of a player himself back in the day and an athlete. But yeah, they're as much a Nebraska high school through collegiate sports, fans and members of the whole scene as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
My parents actually went to the same high school as his parents did.
Really?
Yeah. Well, and him, for that matter. I would have, if my wouldn't have moved, I would have played high school basketball. No, probably.
The warden, though.
Yeah.
They had some new inmates to look after.
He retires. He's retiring here in the next 2 months.
Is he really?
Good for him.
Yep.
Well earned.
Look at that. 0 for 9.
Yeah, that's
16%.
Hey, that's crazy, but look at us. We're 1 for 7 and we're up 26.
Right.
So right now, from a coach's standpoint, you're thinking, did we put too much emphasis on it? Did we not do enough in the shoot around? Did we do too much?
I don't think they wanted to shoot 9 threes. Like they could hit some shots, but not like. I don't think they wanted to shoot that many now.
Outside of Korn and Kent Williams, they really didn't have any shooters.
Right.
Which is funny to say now when you're like, you see Creighton and Villanova shoot 35 threes in a game, and you're like, 9 seems like a lot and a half.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy watching some of these games back. I mean, your guys' offense, the one you're running right now, still translates a little bit. There's a lot
Brody's
of motion
mad
involved.
right now. That play was clearly for him out of the half. And he wanted a repost, and Larry goes and throws something.
Yeah, Larry was getting buckets.
But I mean, I've watched that. If you ever go back and watch the, I think the '99 tournament game where they played Louisville, like there's no ball screens. Everyone's towing up this 18-foot three-point line. It just looks so bizarre. Oh, Brody!
Oh, look at that!
The backboard's down next time.
What that was I think that was a over back. And
and then
his guy rotated.
Lindy dropped that one to me all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
You always did the chin up on the rim when you dunked it too. If you got an uncontested one like that, you would always do the chin up on the rim.
That was the shot they did not make in the first half.
Yeah.
You can see they had more bounce than they must have got their ass to shoot out at halftime.
Yeah.
Because they already had more bounce in their step. There's that same play.
See, Brody, I feed you the ball in there.
I love it. You know, I've watched some of these old clips, and you get those 2 dives off the top until you enter to the wing, and every once in a while, it would just pay off eventually. And it's funny because I can always see it coming, and like Kyle would just know, okay, timing's right. I'm gonna get Tyler on this one, on this back door, and Tyler would get a cheap bucket on that.
Yeah.
That routine backdoor cut that we've run 57 times already in the game.
Oh, that's a great pass.
Great pass.
Great pass.
Good outlet by Tyler, though, to get that thing started before their defense was set.
So, you know, it's kind of like changed. Now it's a lot of dribble up. Back then it was like throw the ball up.
Yeah.
But if you watch a lot of people play now, it's not like how often you see a big guy run down the middle of the floor and we get a bucket. I mean, Bishop got a couple, but I mean, we got 1 or 2 a game easy.
That may be the first time tonight they've scored in back-to-back possessions.
There's a 3.
Good look by Tyler.
That's all I had to do. I had people that could score all around me. Just throw them the ball.
And it's going to be impossible for SIU if Creighton keeps executing like
It was a good
Brody,
matchup.
oh, look at Brody guarding the perimeter. With those feet.
You better believe I was.
Look at that. That was stifling.
That's him came out. He's hit a couple now.
I remember we talked about that Notre Dame game before, and in that game they had what was that point guard's name? Chris Thomas or something? Chris?
Yep.
Yeah. And he was a really good player. And I remember I got switched on.
Flexing. Look at him flexing. He flexed. Look at that shot fake, dribble.
That was your move.
Look at that.
Right in the middle, a little lefty. You had a better lefty hook than you did a righty hook.
I know I did. You're right. I remember getting switched on to Chris Thomas on the wing in that game, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm just hoping I can bait you into a jump shot that I can semi-contest and that you don't make it." And he tried to cross me over twice, but I gave him so much space, and then he did. He casted like a 21-footer, and thankfully he missed it.
Yeah, Brody's just getting bucket. Oh,
yeah, Brody's hunting shots right now.
Yeah, he's going at him.
No, turned it over twice in a possession almost. That's terrible.
So everybody goes through like their rite of passage of college basketball. Well, most of you do. And so mine was like early on. I got my pocket picked by some like nobody. And I remember Funk's was against Chris Thomas. Because Funk is not a point guard really, but he was playing backup point. And he was like dribbling. He was kind of doing like where you're not confident crossing in front of you. So he was kind of like spinning. And Chris Thomas kind of like reached around and grabbed him back, went down and like made a layup. And I think they subbed him out, and I was talking to Funk. He's like, I've never seen anybody do that before. I'm like, yeah, man. You don't want to make me roll. So that's my remembrance of that Notre Dame game.
And Joe's working out in there.
Yeah.
And D'Anthony did not even look at him.
No. It's funny, like you either know passing into the post is definitely a skill, and some people just are not. D'Anthony's, that's a good look.
Yeah,
D'Anthony's like that slide crossover that D'Anthony had.
Yeah. Because D'Anthony was like, he was quick, but he was more fast, and he was almost like he could go in straight lines really fast.
Another great outlet pass.
Hey, Brody, you remember when, speaking of Joe, I can't remember where we were, and Joe was like, he was diabetic, and he was sweating really bad and was eating crackers, and Milk's like, what's wrong with you, Joe? And he just looks at Moats and he's like, look at diabetic Moats.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. And at that point, Joe was ready to kill somebody anyway.
Yeah,
He's low blood sugar. He's trying to get.
Joe was my nemesis in practice, though. I almost went blows with him a few times.
Really?
Well, he would I don't know if he did it on purpose, because Joe was like a different dude, man. Like, I liked him, but I would go up for a jump shot, and I felt like he was always sliding underneath me, and I'm like, what are you, you're my teammate. Why are you sliding underneath me? And I twisted my ankle twice in one practice. Now they made us wear these ankle braces back then that were literally like ankle weights. So
Not much elevation.
Well, Tyler struggled in that category anyway, but you know.
What's that?
Jump shot.
Elevation.
Elevation.
But so speaking of which, bro, do you remember you guys making fun of me for my calves back in the? Because like,
Yes.
Okay, so you remember this? So I messed up my Achilles my senior year in football, to where I couldn't, like my senior year of basketball in high school, I couldn't even touch the bottom of the backboard. I lost all my athleticism. This year, in January, I was down in Austin where my brother, he's a high school basketball coach in Austin. And I played with this team, and I ruptured my Achilles. And when they went in there and fixed it, they were like, "Yeah, you messed this up. This had like had stuff wrong with it from way back in the day." So
No way.
it wasn't wrong with me. But don't ever rupture your Achilles. It's the worst thing in the entire world.
How long ago was that?
How fast is a clip slash fresh?
That I ruptured
How
it?
long ago did that happen?
January 9th, I think it was, when I ruptured it.
So you're about 4 months from
Yeah, three. So I had surgery on like the week after that. So like January 16th or so, 15th, right around there. It's like 3.5 months out. But I can golf now.
I thought they say it's like a year-long recovery. Ugh.
I mean, if I'm gonna go try to play basketball again, maybe. But that kind of was my, hey, you're old, stop playing. Like I've golfed a couple times already. Like I walked 9 playing yesterday. It's not bad.
Nice.
Yeah. I remember you and Lindy would throw mats underneath it when I had a squat. You guys are so nice. But Iowa guys stuck together.
There were so many of you. It was like an Iowa All-Star team.
Well, when we would play, it was so much fun. I'm sure Brody remembers this. We would always play pickup in like the off season, and we'd always be like, all right, Iowa guys verse. And it'd be like me, Lindy, Brody, Kyle, and Funk. And we'd take on the other guys. We would just kill them.
Never leave the court.
Destroy them every time, and like, they would get so mad.
That's messed up.
That we would just never leave the court. It was awesome.
It helped that we did have like 5 starters, but still.
Well, and an All-American.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good point guards on the floor at the same time. They are as tough out as anyone right now in college basketball.
Good setup on the ball screen there, Tyler.
Yeah, you know.
Like, see, Kyle knew there. Like, we had to enter to the post to even flatten out the defense at all. Like, you know, those dudes are up in our grill. We can barely enter it to the wing, and like at least you had to feed the post to flatten it out. And nothing else.
Mm-hmm. You guys are killing them in the paint today.
What? So like,
not even just with the bigs either. It's like everybody.
We had so many buckets that year off of out of bounds plays because Grimes would set a lot of times just massive screens, and he would roll and he'd just be wide open. I think I'm guessing Grimes was like 9th on the scouting report, so nobody would pay attention to him, and he would just go in there and he was just a massive screen. I remember I probably threw him 15 to 20 layups off the inbound plays just because he would set huge screens and roll.
What was it like to battle with these bigs every day in practice? Brody, Joe, Mike. What were those practices like?
Joe and I would go at it for sure, and then you know, Grimes would chop it up a little bit here and there, but it was like Joe and I, we beat each other up pretty well.
he was the funny thing. If you see, he had like tiny arms, but his legs were the size of tree trunks.
Funny thing is, Joe came in. You know, they discovered his diabetic condition his senior year of high school, and he came to Creighton at 6'10 and a half, 6'11", 185 pounds.
That's crazy.
He left at 265.
That's crazy.
A couple years later, when he was playing overseas, he was close to 3 build.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was so skilled.
So skilled.
That pass by Kyle was nice.
Yeah.
I always felt like that was a super underrated part of his game. He got, the 3-point shooting was what got him paid, but I always felt like he was a super good passer.
Really high basketball IQ. That's why he could. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people who probably can't shoot as well as him in the NBA, but it's his IQ that's kept him in the league.
Yeah. What was it like to follow, like, I don't know, what was he like as a leader? Was he more of a leader by example, or was there some vocal components to it?
I wouldn't characterize it. He tried to be vocal. I think Coach put a lot of pressure on him to be more vocal, but he was more of. Here's the weird thing about this team is we were old. If you look at, like, we were experienced, so, like, it wasn't that we needed a lot of raw, like, we all were kind of what Brody said, like, once Terrell, like, as much as in town as he was, we all just kind of knew our role. I mean, we had the same 5 starters from the year before.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of knew what was expected of them. And it wasn't, I don't know, we just kind of knew what we needed to do.
Yeah, this is one of those years as a coach you love because it's, the team self-policed basically.
Right.
A good example is, bro, remember that one day we come in for practice and he just took us bowling?
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing. And I didn't trust it. Remember that?
No.
Was it like Navy SEAL
Are we going to
training
run
or
10s
something?
on the bowling alley?
Yeah, we're at Mockingbird Lanes or something, or I don't know where the heck it was, but we go bowling, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna get done with this, and Coach is gonna be like, all right, we're going back to run 10s.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know what, and we literally just went bowling one day for practice.
Yeah. Right there.
Because
See,
Nate got ripped. Yep.
That's what Funk would do sometimes. I didn't know it happened in this game, but.
Yeah, you went to the back down at half court, and that was not easy.
I remember that still to this day going bowling. And I think part of it was like there was so much pressure on us, and it just kept building. And I think everybody felt, I don't know, stressed out, and he just kind of wanted to loosen it all up.
It was just so un-Coach Altman-like.
Exactly.
Oh, there's Auburn's pissed. They cut it 28.
Yeah.
That was Painter. Yeah, one thing about Nate, like, Nate was such a student of he really studied it, and he learned, he really picked Kyle's brain a lot that year. And, like, even, after this year, Kyle got drafted, like, Nate stayed in touch with Kyle a lot to just, like, pick his brain and learn from him and everything. It wasn't like Nate and Kyle were, like, super tight off the floor or anything, but just Nate wanted to be really good. And obviously he became really good, and he was, he was really inquisitive with Kyle.
On SportsCenter, Herrick pays the price, but George's is worse. Bob Knight doesn't live up to his price. The plot thickens for MJ and the Wiz, and KG faces the.
When did you guys think he could be the man? When did it start to register that he had the ability to be option one on a team like this?
Not like next year. After this, he was good that year, but I still didn't think he was going to be what he became the following,
You'd have to be able to go
3 years, I guess.
Right. After the injury.
You'd have to have more than enough room to
That's a fun story, too.
And of course,
Oh, yeah, that you better reserve that one.
I will.
Yeah.
nothing can be equipped with more ways.
I've read a bunch of stuff about it, but that one's hysterical.
If you haven't been bored lately, look again.
Smart move, Dave. consolidated with Dell Power Edge servers. Highly available, highly
I
scalable.
lived with, this would have been next year,
Miss those old servers,
my
right?
senior year. Oh, no, it was my senior year. I lived with,
What did you do with
it was Moats, Funk, and Quincy Henderson, if you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he transferred out, I think, mid-year. So we had this sweet 4-bedroom apartment and 3-bed, and like, I just remember every single day, Funk would just be making his protein shakes. And like, you could literally just see like muscle grow on him, like as he drank the shake. What is wrong with you, man? It was insane.
Now that's a billboard with stopping power.
Well, they didn't have that championship center weight room sitting around 24 hours waiting for you guys.
Man, it was like, you hear what they have now. Not only like,
have you seen it yet, Tyler? Have you been there yet?
I've seen like videos, but I haven't been there yet.
It's insane.
It's insane, dude. I mean, I think I would have been a better basketball player if I went there with that access now.
Yeah. Instead of, I mean, nothing against Satoshi Oshii, but him being he was a
well, yeah, but it's not even that. Like, dude, like, we used to have to break into the old gym, right? Like, literally break into it to be able to get in. Otherwise, it was had to be, you know, lock and key, supervised, or whatever. Like, these dudes can get into that gym anytime they want.
Yeah.
So why should a football team affect anything that goes on?
It's insane, the facility.
I mean, we would have to figure out how to eat half the time because Alton would, in practices at 6:50 and the cafeteria closes at 7. And we're eating that. So we're like getting the leftovers of cafeteria. Like, we're a top 10 college basketball team at this point, and we can barely get food on.
Barely get food, dude. Like, yeah, these guys obviously the way they travel.
They have food catered in before practice is even over.
Yeah.
Right, and you couldn't do that back in the day. That was against NCAA rules.
That's
right. Couldn't even do that. So these dudes, they pay for no food. They get the cost of attendance checks. Right, like, you know, to me, Matt, we were talking about like name, image, and likeness before and some of that. Like, I'm not opposed to the NIL stuff, but like, I don't think these dudes need to be getting checks other than what they already get paid. Like, dude, there was multiple times in college when I went to draw, and I wasn't like I was living lavish, right? Like, my parents gave me a couple of bucks a month to live on, and like, I'd go to draw $20 out of my ATM, and it wouldn't let me take $20 out because I didn't have the balance to cover it.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Nothing performs like the BMW 3.
I love hearing those RV stories from all the old players, though.
So here's another thing that we used to do, but I'm sure you did it too, is what they started doing is before games, we would go, I forget where it was, but they would do like the grilled chicken and everything. They would have like a fridge full of like Gatorade and all this stuff. And it was like a free-for-all. Like, we would grab as much, like, who could get the most Gatorade and extra chicken breasts and food just so we had food for like that weekend. I mean,
yeah,
crazy. Or after every game, we'd get Godfather's Pizza. We were the most unhealthy basketball team of all time. And Moats loved that Godfather's Pizza. He'd bring like he would sit around and like have like 3 of them at home just sitting there. And, I mean, that's what he ate for breakfast and lunch for like the next 3 days.
I mean, God bless Ron Gartland and their sponsorship of Creighton basketball and Godfather's Pizza, but I couldn't eat Godfather's for like years after college because we ate so much of it in college because it's just free pizzas. And,
I remember Kyrie Thomas's freshman year. It was his first game, and he was coming out to talk to me and Piv after the game, and he had this like whole box of like a large box of Godfather's Pizza in his hand. And before we even asked him a question, he came out. He goes, "Do you guys know they give us like free pizza after the games?" We're just like, yeah, we've had a lifetime supply of Godfather's Pizza provided by Creighton University.
That gets old quick. And then on the road, every time it was like Subway sandwiches. Did not eat well.
Yeah,
or
Arby's. Yeah, dude, we went to every buffet, like Old Country Buffet, Shoney's, like all. Yeah, any of them that you could get a rubber steak for $11, and because this is the places you could eat in Carbondale and in Evansville. Evansville. And,
Right. Terre Haute.
Well, that owner was just, he didn't want to spend any money on food. Like, think about when we were like in Christmas break when the cafeterias were closed, he'd have to give us money. And I mean, I think our per diem per day was like $40 for, if that. It was like $5 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, and like 20 for dinner maybe.
Dude, how many times when we were over break and we would meet at the McDonald's at 24th and Cumming for breakfast, like we were eating at that, that's what we would eat, you know, like to your point, we'd have like $5 allocated per head for breakfast.
You could get like a breakfast sandwich, but you probably couldn't add the OJ on top because that was going to cost too much. So then you'd have to bring the Gatorade that you had stole like the week before.
I remember one of the players this year was sitting before practice, and they got like Casey's chicken sandwiches or something for lunch, and he was like, "This thing's making me sick, man." I was like, "You don't even know." You should hear some stories
of like the locker room stuff, and we had 2 couches that Gordy had slept on for so much that the cushions were like this thin. Like nobody wanted to sit on them. Like, oh.
There, finally, Kyle got loose.
Yeah. He's going to start to go off in a minute.
I called it loose. He just hit it right in Corn's eye, but, you know, whoever was guarding him.
If you're a Creighton Bluejay fan, everybody has chipped in this one. I think he's got about 7 rebounds.
Jermaine Dearman, that right shoulder. You go 2 dribbles middle and come back to the right shoulder. Good up step.
Hey, Brod, were we flying private this year, or was that next year we started?
The following year, we finally got a couple of private jet deals. Yeah.
My senior year, we flew into Evansville, and I remember it was like the biggest snowstorm ever, and I thought we were gonna crash. Like I was like, "There's no way we survive this." We played Evansville. I think we lost at Evansville that year, and this is when Anthony was a sophomore. He was a sophomore that year. And the funny thing is, he was so bad that we would legitimately practice what to do, like so, because they didn't want him shooting, so we spent like 3 or 4 practices throwing it into the post, and then working on turning and facing, shot faking, and then throwing it out. Like they weren't even allowed to shoot. And Altman even told me, he's like, "Hey, if we're in the last 5 minutes of the game, don't throw it into." I'm like, "This is an NBA player, like a 50-year NBA vet telling us, don't even throw him the ball." I'm like, okay.
Gordy always tells this story about telling Anthony to catch the ball with the white part of his hands.
It's just funny how good he got. He was not good.
He comes in, he'll show up in the summer and work out for a few weeks when he's back in town, and he doesn't even shoot anywhere near the college line. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Workouts are all like from 30 to 40 feet. It's insane. All his footwork drills, all of his shooting drills. It's crazy watching those things.
Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, I was playing in that summer league that all the Creighton guys play, and I've since retired from that. This is maybe 6 years ago now. And Anthony was back in town, and he played in that for one week, and he was holding his basketball camp here, so he played in the summer league, and I played against him. And he's like a 7-year NBA vet at this point, you know. And I'm guarding Anthony, and like after the game, I'm like, "Anthony, the last time I was on the court with you, I was a lot better than you at basketball. Now you are so much better than me. It's not even funny." Another awful turnover there. Great pass to the back of the backboard.
I had a last possession. Altman's real happy. I still remember, like, I don't think people understand like how much better professionals are than college. As good as Kyle is this year, I remember him coming back and playing after his rookie year and just being like, "Oh my God, like you are unbelievably good."
It's not even just NBA dudes. Like Justin Carter comes back and works out with these dudes. Like he punches on these 18-year-olds. Like he'll just elevate and just dunk on their whole family.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, that's not even a leaguer, and he's doing that.
Yeah. When it's your job, that's why I like with Tyshawn leaving and everything. It's like, hey, he's going to get better fast.
Yeah.
Right?
When it's the only thing you get up and have to do.
Yeah.
I have to go to school. Yeah, that stuff.
Then again, Kyle was probably upgrading his diet. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's crazy how self-sufficient you guys had to be successful back then.
Brody, were you with Kyle when he got drafted?
Yeah. We were DJ. I got 115th to Dodge.
Okay.
The BMW 3 Series.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, you know, kind of expected to get drafted, right? But you know, obviously he knew he wasn't going to be a first rounder, so it was pretty low pumping circumstance.
Yeah, when he got traded, he got drafted by the Nets, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. I remember with that rookie contract, like the one thing that he bought himself, well, he bought two things. He bought a car and a screen TV, a flat screen TV, because they were just like the plasma screen or whatever the heck he bought. It was like a 45-inch plasma screen, and it cost him like $10,000.
Now you can buy it for like $200.
Right. With a way higher quality.
Yeah.
Make 7-Up yours. And in part by the BMW 5 Series. BMW, the ultimate driving
Those guys.
machine.
I know.
They got to be selling on my hands.
Well, there's got to be a karaoke bar somewhere we can ship those guys.
I wonder when they recorded this, because it wasn't when they were down 26.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the I Hate Creighton shirt.
Yep.
There was one from the band member.
Yeah, that's crazy. They made. The funny thing is, they always said that like our teams were finesse and soft, and I'm like, we had a bunch of like kind of tough Iowa guys that weren't, and so I don't know. I think because we shot it so well and a lot that we kind of got a weird reputation.
Yeah. No, this group was super physical. That's what I remember about them. I mean, even on the perimeter, you guys weren't pushovers.
Yeah.
And inside, it was a joke. There were, I mean, between Brody, Joe, and Mike, those were like grown men. Like,
Bro, do you remember losing at Evansville this year?
Yeah.
That was like, we beat them by like 30 a week before.
Yep.
And then we went out and like, I don't know, that was like, because I'm trying, what were the other games we lost this year?
At SIU.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys lost at Wichita.
It's like all like legit losses, and then it was like at Evansville, who was I think the worst team in the league.
That was a few weeks after Kyle like smoked him from like 35 feet too. He was just
he had like 7 threes in the first half, and I remember thinking like Kyle's gonna have like 45 this game, and then he got like 3 shots off the second half, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching film after that, and Altman just being like, "That was a weird strategy to leave Kyle open for 3."
Murph was coaching Evansville, then he got teed up, I think, in the first half. I still give him crap about that.
Was McDermott was at UNI this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another team. I hated playing those. Well, I just didn't like them.
Hits open shots. I mean, just take about 5 or 6 Bluejays and apply that to them. Well coached.
I think Mac's first year there was the previous year.
Was it?
I think this was the second year there.
Yeah, you guys.
Because I remember playing them in the tournament in St. Louis, Mac's first year.
Yeah, that was like the quarterfinal game or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny when you look at your Arch Madness runs this year and the year before that, because you guys, I think you guys whooped up on your quarterfinal and your semifinal opponents, and then had a close one with SIU in the final. And then this year was like 2 squeakers in the first 2 rounds, and then you blow SIU out of the gym. Tyler finally getting a free throw line. Oh, a little short.
You know, Bob, if you're an athletic director watching this game and you think you might have an opening coming up here in the next week or so or month, I think you might want to give Dana Altman a call. He hasn't told me anything, but I don't buy into the theory that he's...
Yeah, Brody, what your senior year, what happened in the tournament?
We lost first round to Missouri State.
Right.
Yeah.
Southwest Missouri State back then, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that year, that obviously that was the year that you were out of the commission because of the eye. We had a 3-game road trip, and it was at SIU. Then we went to play at Kent State for the bracket buster. And then we came back to Missouri State. And those were 3 of our last 4 games of the season. So we had a 3-game road swing right before our senior night game was Wichita at home. And like we were struggling a little bit, but I thought, man, if we go get these 3 on the road, or maybe even 2 of these 3, we still have a chance for an at-large and, position, and then we'll see what happens in St. Louis type of thing. And we went to SIU, and we were in that game until the last 45 seconds. We lost. We went to Kent State and played terribly. We got beat by the double digits there. And then we went to Missouri State, and we'd already lost 2. And then we just got run out of the gym at Missouri State. And it was we got beat by 30. We scored 44 points or something. It was terrible. And then we got it together for senior night, but I don't know, our momentum was just fading late in the season. And I think at that point our strength became our weakness. We had 4 fifth-year seniors there. I think we were just getting tired. We were just
Dana Altman is the Scotty Bowman of college basketball coaches.
Nope.
Oh. Play a shift, get out.
There's Grimes in the middle.
Funk for 3. Underneath Grimes. Rejected by Deren.
Grimes shot 64% of his career.
I remember that. Did he start next year then, Grimes?
Yeah.
He did. Okay.
Hairston for Dearman.
Talk about a different offense, going from a knockdown to best shooter of all time to Grimes.
Well, we were talking about the Preston thing, and the difference between those 2 clubs. I mean, we scored 78 a game and pressed, a lot of the time with this club, and then the next year we pressed never and scored 66 points a game.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Grimes hated pressing. He hated it so much.
Yes, he did.
Top 2 seeds in that tournament got through. Championship week presented by.
Well, this second half is just kind of just get it over with, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they came out with a lot of energy, but you guys still hit them pretty good and pushed the lead to 30. And then they're just trying to make it respectable. But there's that screen. Oh my God.
Yep. Just laid them out.
And the house is
and then you get them back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's basically the game in a nutshell right there.
Yep.
Now we're just trying to figure out where we're going to go party after the game.
So that's the second screen in this game that Kyle's laid somebody out. He had I'd say maybe a half dozen of those this particular year, where he caught somebody like that.
I think they're going to show the replay of it pretty soon. Yeah, coming up right here. Poor dude.
Poor guy.
He's dazed.
Oh. He caught that nose right on Kyle's shoulder, too.
Yeah. Concussion protocol for sure.
Not back then. Now he's just back out there.
Yeah.
Screen right. My goodness.
Oh.
Help your teammate out, huh?
Yeah, I always feel like this was one of the peaks of the Altman era. Was this whooping right here? Just because they were SIU was so good. And then obviously
they were good. And it's weird to me, they were unranked at this point, which is hard for me to fathom, because they were they were ranked at various times this particular season, and we split the regular season title, right? We were both 15-3.
No, they won it outright.
They did win it outright.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of Evansville.
Yeah, because the Evansville loss. That was the only difference.
Because we were 15-3 and they were 16-2.
Yeah, they lost to you guys and then Bradley in the season. And you guys lost to them and Wichita and Evansville.
In Wichita, yeah. But I mean, they were so darn good, and then they went to the Sweet 16 the year before in the tournament, and like I don't know why they weren't ranked at this point.
Well, they were talking about us not being an at-large at this point. It's like we ended up being a
really?
5 or a 6.
You were 6.
6.
There's no way you were out of the at-large conversation.
Well, right, but if you like, when I turned this on, I was just looking at it. And it's like they're like, yeah, they're still not sure if they'll make it if they lose this game. I'm like,
28 wins.
I mean, that's part of the AQ deal, and that frankly that's part of the beauty of this tournament. You know what I mean? Like it was all on the line for this thing. Like, you know, you just never fully knew. So I do remember feeling like, well,
yeah,
probably likely we're in if we lose this game, but you just never know. So let's just go and win the damn thing.
Well, how about if you want to talk about your chances? If you lose to 7-24 Indiana State in the quarterfinals,
yeah,
that might have put you out.
No doubt.
Too much emphasis on the game, not enough emphasis. We have too much of a walkthrough. I mean, they'll go through 35 questions.
He's still
19 points
stressing.
spread.
Yeah, he still looks super sweat right now.
It just didn't happen for
Yeah. How many times did he like almost pass out on the bench that year?
Multiple.
Do you remember that where he would like get lightheaded and have to sit down and like they'd bring him Gatorade so he could get some sugar in him?
Yep. Kevin Dermer had to be on the spot.
He would lose like 20 pounds over the course of a year. It was insane.
He wouldn't eat anything, and he wouldn't sleep.
He
Babyface
would
D-Rock.
sleep in his office like 4 or 5 days a week.
Baby D-Rock. D-Rock spent what, 19 years at Creighton?
Yeah, I think it was 2 as a GA and 17 as an assistant. I think is what it was.
We had Bargan this year, didn't we? Wasn't Mike Bargan the assist or grad assistant now?
Yes, he would have been.
The ultimate driving machine.
He's at Bradley.
What's that?
He's back in the Valley. He's at Bradley.
Yeah. He used to still like play with us. I think this year, and I think the following year he played with us too. And I'm like, dang, it's pretty good.
It's Think Big Month at Sonic, featuring our biggest burger ever, the Big Cheese.
Played at Marquette. I mean,
yeah.
Smoky cheddar cheese, topped with bacon and a special honey pepper sauce, and made to
played for Mike Dean up there. Mike was nuts too. He was Kevin O'Neill-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you keep in contact with any of the Northwestern guys?
Not really. Totally hit and miss. I don't know. Like, I have no idea where Dave Newman is right now.
Yeah. I remember watching him in high school and being like, this guy's unreal.
He was so good in high school.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL between ACL or MCL, whatever. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was between freshman and sophomore year at Northwestern, and like he just wasn't the same.
Did he go to Hoover? Is that where he was at?
Yeah. They had 3 dudes. They were really good. TJ Weldon, him, and Greg Danielson were all on that squad.
Yeah.
And they were really good. They all played at Drake later.
What year did he graduate high school? Was he?
He was 98. He was 98.
He was.
Yep.
Jarvis Hayes bitter about the administration's decision to withdraw.
I almost didn't come to Creighton because of Sears because I couldn't stand him so much.
They panicked. More in the story,
Not in a bad way, but he battled my older brother all 4 years in high school.
Oh, really?
And so I was like, I'm not going to go play after this guy.
I think like honestly, I don't remember Ed St. Fleur very much. He was Dana's first point guard. I think they got him on a JUCO. But with you, like Ryan, Josh, Creighton was like point guard you. In my
we had 3 straight guys that started all 4 years, or a portion of 4 years. Yeah. And then Antoine started 3.
Yep. Chapman started. I think he was. Yeah, he was either 2 or 3. Can't remember what he was. He started 3 because he started 2012, 2013, I think. I think Antoine's last year was 11-12. Grimes is still flexing.
Yeah.
You guys are still super hyped up right now.
This is where it's just fun.
That timeout must have been crazy. You must have got in your guys' ass because you guys are coming in. Hey, it's a 20-point game now.
Yeah.
St. Louis finest.
That's right. Question is, bro, did you have more fun when you played in St. Louis or you went down to watch afterwards in St. Louis?
Well, let's see. There's different types of fun.
Fair enough.
They put their uniform on just like everybody else. And how about our guy Mike Montgomery out at Stanford? We've seen first game of the year for you and I. His club is picked. Who was
your road roommate this year? Do you remember?
I don't remember. To be honest with you, I'm gonna say it was Grimes.
I had to stay with House. He was the funniest guy.
Larry House, a lot of people don't know, like, because Larry's really understated in a lot of ways. He's like verbally, Larry's one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. So funny. I got lots of stories there.
Yeah.
Some not for public consumption.
Well, remember when Lindy stayed with him and he fell out of his bed?
No.
You don't remember this?
What?
I just remember the next day, like, Lindy was making fun of him because, like, they were sleeping. And all of a sudden there was like a really loud noise, and Lindy's like woke up, he's like, what in the world's going on? And Larry was on the ground, and he's like out of bed while I was sleeping. And Lindy started like asking if he needed to get like railings on the side of his bed so he wouldn't fall out anymore. Grimes just swiping at him.
Yeah, you guys are just going.
So they're down. They're down 22. They're pressing. They still have their whole starting 5 in.
Yeah.
I mean, either Weber's like hopeful that they could close the gap, or he's just pissed and like, you guys are just keep playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just showed him like a couple minutes ago. He wasn't even coaching anymore.
What did we do for the next 2 weeks, Brody? Do you remember? Remember we had 2 weeks off before we played again?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost that. Keep in mind, I think this was still a Monday night.
Yeah.
So it was really a week and a half because, the tournament started on a Thursday. It was like 10 days.
But a week and a half when you're in the season feels like a month.
It totally does. I think we got 2 days. I think we, would have traveled then Tuesday, had Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday off, and then started practice Friday.
Yeah, all I remember about the NCAA tournament is you guys landed an egg, and then we declared war on Iraq the same night.
Did we really?
Yeah, so it was like a wild day.
I remember we came all the way back, and Joe had a layup to tie it.
A minute to go. Yeah, we had a 2-on-1. DeAnthony dropped in the wraparound, and he didn't catch it clean and like dribbled it off his knee or something.
Yeah. If he makes that, I bet I think we win that game. Because didn't they go down and hit like a bucket or a 3 or?
Yeah, then they're up 4, and then, you know, we come down, miss our shot, then we have to start fouling.
Yeah. Who did we have if we won that game?
Huh?
Was it Duke we had if we won?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. JJ Redick.
Look at this. Look at this. Another dunk.
Yeah.
There was like 6 dudes on our squad that had dunked this game.
Yeah, for real. Brody, Joe, Larry, D'Anthony.
That's 4. Grimes got one. I think Grimes got one. I think that's 5. Okay. Well, maybe I was a little bit.
That's a lot of dunks for a lot of different guys dunking.
Don't underestimate the guys that surround Kyle Korver. Again, you can't win 29 ball games.
Actually, they're still running that high post DHO.
Yep.
Left.
We didn't actually run a lot of set plays.
Set it up again.
Kellen coming in here just jacking.
Kellen liked to shoot.
Hey, he can shoot as much as he wants. He had a game winner against Nebraska. So.
Yeah, he did. One of the worst games I've ever attended.
Oh, it was horrible.
Terrible game. It was televised too.
Wasn't it in the 40s?
Yeah. His bucket got Creighton to 51. That was the game.
Oh my.
Well, fellas, congratulations on reliving the MVC title again.
Hey, there you go, buddy. I brought it
That
up.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Deb with,
oh, you got the ring and everything. Oh man,
That's
nice. Too bad no one's gonna see that. That's pretty cool. Actually, put that up. We'll take a picture.
And their 5th consecutive NCAA.
Got it. Hey, thanks guys for hopping on.
Matt, thanks for all you do for White and Blue Review, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, fellas. I appreciate it. Have a good one, okay? Be safe.
Take care, Brody. Thanks, Matt.
You too, Ty.
Yeah.
Of what we see time after time in championship week. Dana Altman's Creighton Bluejays win at 80-56. Sports Center is coming up next. For Jimmy Dykes and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Bob Carpenter. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Log on to ESPN.com for more on championship week. The Creighton Bluejays are on their way to the NCAA. We think SIU is as well. Good night from the Valley in St. Louis.